He's a 12-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA first team, 7-time All-NBA defensive first team, one of the greatest basketball players ever, not just for his size, period. One of the great basketball players for this time, even though all we do is rings culture, and so he doesn't have enough titles like LeBron, and so we somehow disparage and diminish a man who has been great.
Which is by the way, and I think Chris can agree with me on that. This
Thank
whole
you.
rings thing and this whole why is he putting out a book now, it's absurd.
Yes, thank you, Billy, for all your contributions here. I'd like to not hear from you again. 61 is the name of the book, Life Lessons from Papa on and off the court. Chris, thank you for joining us. I am really a big admirer because I just don't feel like you've been fairly chronicled, that people don't understand how hard it is to be as great as you are, not just at your size, but also at your size, because Jokic is out there. And what the hell is that?
Jokic is damn good, I tell you, but damn, Billy, you ain't got to take that, man.
I'm just saying, I'm here trying to defend you.
Yeah.
Dan does nothing but talk S about you, and I'm like, that's my boy Chris.
No, listen, I appreciate it, man. Dan, it's hard, man. I done played for a long time, as you know, and played with a lot of really, really good players, a lot of great coaches. And one thing that Doc Rivers used to say all the time is that you need luck too, you know? And unfortunately, I'd have had a lot of bad luck.
Oh, you would have had pretty good luck if Stern simply hadn't vetoed your trade to the Lakers. You would have had all of those championships.
Who knows, man? That was a crazy time. It's crazy to think about what could have been. You know what I mean? Me and Kobe got on the phone, we had talked, but, everything happens for a reason.
What do you regard, because I want to get into why you wrote this book, what it is that you wanted to do to honor your father, why you chose Mike Wilbon, and I want to get into just how it is you've mastered the power game with Players Union and having a relationship with the big hitters like Iger. I want to talk about the breadth of your work away from the court, but what do you regard as like the basketball thing that has wounded you the most, that has just hurt, whether it's a loss or a vetoed trade or just something that, represents like this business is cold, man?
No, it ain't about the business being cold. It's just hard. You know what I mean? And when you're in sports and whatever you in, you want to win. I don't care who you are. You're trying to win. You hate to lose. And I think for me, it's been tough. The losses, some of the injuries, the time and all that stuff, but you got to get back to it. I sort of talk about that in the book or whatnot, but I think, you've been in this a long time, longer than I've been playing. So I think the other part that comes too is the gratitude of being able to still play. You saw Lou Will retired recently a couple of days ago, and Lou Will is one of the best players to ever play in our league, and we were the last two people from our draft class. So it's crazy to think, people gonna always say this and say that, but I'm grateful that I still get to hoop.
So you won't give the ammunition of, I'm not going to tell you what my greatest heartbreak is. I don't want to talk about heartbreak. I want to talk about I'm grateful.
Well, I don't think it's one thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who you are and what you do. Like, I could run off a list of, damn, I hate that this happened, or I hate that this happened. You know what I'm saying? But if you live like that, then excuse me, talking like I'm talking to my homie. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you move forward? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you move forward if you always gonna dwell on something like that?
It's interesting you say that, right? Because that's the price and the cost of being as great as you are and getting as close to team maximum sports accomplishment. You can't be better than you are, right, Chris? Like, you have maximized from your career. You have been every bit as great as you can be. You couldn't be a step greater.
Well, shoot, I don't think you'd ever talk to any athlete and don't think that they believe that they can, And I think that's the thing about why you don't quit, why you keep going. You know what I'm saying? You always trying to be better than you were. And so I know for me, that's the case. I don't never go in the gym and be like, damn, I'm good enough. You know what I'm saying? And I got to believe those who have won championships or won or whatnot, that they don't come back the next year saying like, okay, I'm cool,
Hey, Chris, it's Mike. I don't think many people in our audience or who follow the NBA regularly know how difficult it is for you to just get your body ready to play. You've had well-chronicled knee injuries. There's people out there that say you have very little cartilage left. Like, what kind of pain do you go through day to day just to play at the level that you've played at? You've done much of your main achievements on the court post this huge knee injury.
They say I ain't got no cartilage left.
That's what they say.
I didn't say
I didn't
that.
have one knee injury.
Yeah, but a lot of wear and tear on that knee, and it's really to give you your flowers because you've overcome a knee injury that you don't make excuses for, and that many people aren't even all that aware of how painful. It's all about pain management, isn't it?
Nah, I mean, a lot of stuff sometimes can be excuses. You know, you've seen guys now in this league come back from all types of injuries. So, I had meniscus surgery back in like 2010, something like that. So, I mean, I done had hand surgeries. I done had 4 hand surgeries since I've been in the league, but you get back. People done had a lot worse than that.
That's a funny athlete mentality right there. No excuses, even though there might be some explanations. But the book is about hard work, okay? And forgive me, I said it was lessons from your father. It's lessons from your grandfather and how it is to work hard and what it means to work hard. So you frame it that way, Chris. You don't give anyone the ammunition of I'm not making excuses for pain or hand or knees. Everybody plays through it. But explain to me the roots of your hard work, because you've written this book, at least in part, because that's your imprinting.
Yeah, my grandfather got murdered when I was in high school, right? When I was 17, and he got murdered by 5 teenagers. The day before, November 14, 2002, I signed my letter of intent to go to Wake Forest. And my grandmother died when I was 7 from lung cancer. So my grandfather was my best friend. He was my ace. We was together all the time. And so he got murdered the very next day on the 15th. And then on the 19th was his funeral. And so the very next day after his funeral was the first game of my senior year, and I scored 61 points for every year that my grandfather had lived. And not knowing at the time that I would be blessed enough to go on and play this long NBA career, like at that point, that was the highlight of my life.
And why did you choose to write about this imprinting and Michael Wilbon chosen as the writer to tell this story? Because you could have waited till the end of your career. You could have done this at any point in your career. Why are you doing it now?
You know, it's funny because I chose Wilbon because I've known him for a long time. I actually knew Wilbon before I even played an NBA game. And so just knew how well respected he was. And then on the other side, I chose now because, you know, when I was in high school, right after it happened, someone came down and asked if we wanted to do a movie. And I was like, with my parents, didn't know if it would mess up college eligibility. And I'm glad we waited till now, because now I got kids of my own. I got a 14-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. And so I was able to give different perspectives now than I wouldn't have been able to give as a 25-year-old kid or whatnot. So it's been dope to learn. And I open up and talk about a lot of things that hard times, you know what I'm saying, from college, different incidences that happened or whatever. And I explain them a little bit more in detail.
What do you regard as the most interesting parts of the book or your journey, or what it is you're trying to share with an audience that you don't have to share it with them?
Yeah, I think in the book, I sort of talk about why I'm wired the way I am, you know, and why I compete the way that I do. And I sort of explain like my foundation and my family. You know, that's one thing. Some guys are a lot more open about things. Some guys are a little bit more closed off. Obviously, I know I'm in the public eye with a lot of things that happen, but I think I explain a lot about why I compete the way that I do and who I do it for and what keeps me sane, to tell you the truth.
Well, what does?
My family. My family. I'm blessed and fortunate. I got my wife, I got my 2 kids, I got uncles, aunts, cousins, my parents. I mean, my parents live in North Carolina, live in Winston-Salem. I just finished my 18th season. My parents still make more than half of my games every year. You know, and so I'm sure that's probably not everybody's normal.
Well, I wonder how that one goes over, right? Because I've read all your comments, and you are, I mean, always a professional in public. You don't do the things that end up in headlines that make you or anyone look bad. But you come home, whenever it is you get the news of, Well, I took Phoenix to the finals a couple years ago, and every team I go to wins a lot more when I get there. And my gratitude for that is they're shipping me off. They don't want me anymore. And you've said all the right things publicly about, well, business is cold, but I understand this is a business. But how does this one go over with your family?
Yeah, they ain't with it, but they also know the business too. My family, anybody who knows me, they know my family. They know my parents. My parents here in New York on this book tour with me. My parents actually talk to all the incoming rookies' parents every year for the last 18 years about what to expect from a parent's perspective. But I'm so blessed to seriously have people that also see the big picture, and so sometimes people try to take your kindness for weakness. You figure it out and you just keep pushing.
What does they ain't with it mean?
What they ain't with it? Listen, if you don't have family and people that ride for you day in and day out, then, you know what I'm saying? Billy, talk to them. Tell them what it means.
I was going to say, I mean, what kind of question is that?
No, I know. I want specifics, though, of who's coming to him. I know what it means, but who's coming to him and saying, I can't believe
Dan knows what it means, but if the audience doesn't know what it means.
I can't believe Phoenix
You
did
sure
that.
about that?
No, you know what? It ain't that. I'm gonna tell you that you make trades and all this stuff like that. It's a business, man. I done literally seen everything that you could see in this league, right? From trades, and it's not like being traded or whatnot. I think the thing that always messes up any situation is the communication aspect. So,
is there any point you learned it, Chris, where because you didn't come into the league knowing, okay, it's a business. You expected the employer to value you, or you came in knowing that?
Well, then, I mean, you think about it. I got drafted when I was 19, 20 years old, right? I didn't know what to expect, which is why I ended up getting involved in the union and why I stayed involved in the union so long is, I mean, I'm a consumer too. I'm a fan. So once upon a time, I used to be the kid that see stuff come across to be like, man, how did this guy blow $20 million? And then I came into this life and I got a chance to see what can happen and how people try to pull you here and pull you there. So you start to realize that it's tough when you're a kid that gets drafted and this is the highlight of your life. But now people want you to be the best basketball player that you can possibly be. But they also want you to help this person, help that person, and that person. So it's just it's a unique perspective.
So was there an age or a time that you learned it? Because if you come in not knowing and then you get on the treadmill and the treadmill is lopsided, you got to be great and it consumes all of you. Got to be great, got to get to the top. Everyone's trying to be the greatest. Where do you learn it? They're like, oh, that doesn't feel the way that I'd like to have a partnership with my employer in the age of player empowerment when I'm running the players union as well and I'm trying to make deals with these owners.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just that aspect of it. I was more so speaking of it from like players. That's why vets are important, right? Like I had PJ Brown when I came into the league who sort of just taught me a little bit about finance here and there, right? Vets are important, teammates are important, relationships are important. And our league is so different now than it was when I first came into the league. The way guys are involved in other businesses off the court and just the conversations, the camaraderie. I think something that was so big with me, Melo, D-Wade, and Braun, right? I'm sure y'all, the Banana Boat crew, whatever, right? What made that relationship so special, to tell you the truth, is because I got my brother, I got my homies that I grew up with that I talk to all the time. But there are some situations that they just will never understand. I'm sure, Dan, you got some friends or whatnot that live sort of a similar lifestyle to you, but other people who don't, who when you explain things to them, it's just different, right? So those relationships are so important for you to have, especially when you're thrust into a limelight that, you don't really know anything about.
The name of the book is 61, Life Lessons from Papa on and off the court. What would you regard as the greatest challenge you had as president of the NBA Players Union? The greatest one.
Which one? Dan, I don't think you got enough time on this show today for all of that stuff. I mean, we moved the union offices from Harlem to where they are now. went through, I don't know, you almost got to ask me for me to remember.
Well, you just should.
I
We'll do it next time when we have more time.
I didn't have moving being up there.
Yes, well, he's just
Moving's
going
a pain in the ass.
I mean, that's actually very relatable.
He's going to the very beginning of this because he's explaining to you from the beginnings of these guys took over the business.
Wait, you were boxing stuff?
Chris, they're not about it.
Everything.
Chris, thank you. 61 life lessons from Papa on and off the court. We'll do it again in a longer form, sir. I really have admired your pioneering because you have that whole crew ended up changing the league. You guys being good at business ended up changing. I don't know where it is on your list of prides, but ended up changing the amount of power that players have, not only in that league, but in sports.
You know what, Dan? It's crazy. I say this and I go is, aside from the power, because I know what the conversations be like. They'd be like, should players be able to do this or should they be able to say this or whatnot? But probably the coolest thing from my time at the Union is we're the only sports league that has health insurance for retired players.
Yeah. See, that's one of the things that he did, and I don't know if I put it at the top of his list because he's got plenty of things to be proud of. Thank you again, Chris, for sharing the time with us, and thank you for writing the book and sharing the wisdoms in it.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Great timing for a book.
Both of these men care deeply, care unreasonably about the tapestries of filmmaking, and they agree on next to nothing because they look at movies and feel movies very differently. Adnan Virk does so on Cinephile. You can check out his movie podcast, and if you just want to get more informed on Major League Baseball, he does an assortment of things all over the place where he's smart on baseball. And David Samson, Nothing Personal, is his podcast. Also, the LeBatard and Friends Network. He reviews a movie every day. Let's get right to it. In honor of Father's Day last weekend, we're a couple of days late. We were supposed to show you something yesterday that involved Chris Cody and Greg Cody. We forgot in honor of Father's Day, 2 days late, and now we're later still on Father's Day. We're doing father-son, father-daughter. Are there mother-daughter, mother-son relationships here? What are we exploring? Is it just father and son and daughter? How are we doing this? Top 5 movies of all time involving a father and a child.
Correct. When it comes to Mother's Day, we can do the mother, but for this one, it's just fathers.
Okay, so you have the first list. That's generally how we do it because Adnan doesn't like your list and it's more disagreeable generally. And a lot of people would say, not just more controversial, less popular because it's even more discerning than Adnan's list of popular movies that he gets universal applause for selecting. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the people sometimes say that. Let's start with you, Samson. Number 5. The 5th best father-child movie of all time.
The Descendants. That's a movie with George Clooney trying to deal with the fact that his wife is in a coma, having suffered an accident, discovering that she had an affair. Shailene Woodley, Aaron Rodgers' erstwhile girlfriend, is in that movie, and the father-son, father-daughter relationship with the children as he navigates this impossible-to-navigate situation makes for a very compelling movie. Backdrop, Hawaii.
First off, pretty sure it's pronounced Shailene, not Shailene, but whatever. That's a small thing. I like the movie, David. I don't think it's as good as Alexander Payne's other work. I much prefer Sideways. You know, I think he's made better movies. George Clooney running around in his flip-flops definitely has some funny moments. But, I mean, as far as father-daughter movies, I could do better. But I don't have a serious issue with it. I do like the movie. I like Alexander Payne's work. I'm okay with The Descendants.
Does anyone in the shipping container, have they seen this movie? I have not seen this movie.
Nope.
None of us have seen it.
Oh, wait, I did see it, but it wasn't memorable.
Oh.
Sorry.
I've seen it multiple times. It is, if you want to look at a relationship movie, it is fascinating what families do in crisis. But I'm happy to go to number 4, which is an even better movie.
Well, but before you do that, though, Jessica says your top 5 list of all time in movies. Jessica's saying, yeah, saw it, yawn.
It's okay. David and I agree on the terribleness of the show The Idol, so we don't disagree on everything.
Oh, Lily Rose Depp. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What is
She's
the
getting
The
famous.
Weeknd doing?
Yeah, The Weeknd.
That's
A lot
the
of
better
nudity.
question.
A lot of controversial
Bad
subject
acting.
matter.
What's
Not
Hank
going to
Azaria
get
doing?
renewed.
What's Brockmeyer doing in the middle of that? Number 4.
Yes, Hank Azaria. Great point by Dan. What is Hank
You guys
Azaria
really,
doing?
nobody wants a
Honestly,
sex
like,
scene with
not,
Hank Azaria.
Not that bad of a character. Like, he's fine.
I felt like Hank read that script and maybe had some sort of vacation he wanted to take with his family, some sort of payment on some property.
He's got
potentially.
Simpsons money. Are you kidding? Like, what are you kidding
wait,
me?
So are you saying that nobody takes any work for money? They do it for love?
No, but David, Azaria's got like $50 million in the bank. To Dan's point, he's past the point of needing a check.
There is nobody past the point of needing a check.
Azaria's got more than that. That's Simpsons
That's probably
money.
low.
100 million in the bank.
That's
100 million in the bank.
Simpsons
Dan's
money.
right.
What are you guys talking about? Azaria doesn't have to do anything for money.
That means you're impugning his taste then.
Number 4.
Captain Fantastic. Viggo Mortensen in a nominated role. It's a movie about a father, no mother, a father and his children, and how he raises them off the grid completely. And one of the children decides he wants to get back on the grid. How Captain Fantastic deals with it. The family dynamic in that movie is tremendous. A family I could not relate to in any way, but it brought emotion to me seeing that a father could in fact do what I could not, and that is run an entire family off and on the field.
First off, I think it's pronounced Vigo, not Vigo. So we're 0 for 2 now in pronunciations of actors and movies that you love. Secondly, I like Viggo Mortensen a lot. I had him on Cinephile to talk about Captain Fantastic. He was very passionate about it. As you know, David, he was nominated for an Academy Award, but I would have preferred a title like Captain Craptastic. I didn't think it was anything special. It was a pretty mediocre movie. Let's be honest.
No, that is not correct. Though I do agree when you Google great movies, it doesn't come up, which is why obviously you don't like it.
I'm confused. Is this list good movies with a father relationship or good father son daughter relationships within a movie? Like,
Good
are we
movies.
ranking the relationship or the movie?
The movie.
Both. I'm doing both. I'm doing the best relationship in the best movie. That's my top 5. And you'll see with number 3 exactly where my head is.
So by Adnan's list, if it's just top movies with a father in it, it could be any movie.
Well,
You'll see, Billy. My list gets a little more expansive, I
All
think,
right,
than David's. But go ahead.
I don't think it's just fathers, though. I think a lot of movies have fathers in them. Number 3.
Parenthood. Parenthood's a movie. It's a movie with Steve Martin, Jason Robards, an amazing cast with one of the great lines ever. Tom Hulce, Academy nominated, and he was in Amadeus. You've seen him in Animal House. Tom Hulce plays sort of a gambler and the ne'er-do-well son in the family. And he's in trouble with gamblers, and he gets thrown out of a car, and the father says to his son, "Who was that?" And he says, "Those were my friends." And he said, "Friends. Friends slow down. They even stop." That movie has father-son relationships from grandfather to father, from father to son, multi-generational, extremely poignant, extremely emotional. And if you haven't seen Parenthood, I don't mean the TV show, the movie, then you have missed something spectacular, including the opening song at a baseball game by Randy Newman.
Pretty sure the excerpt that you just told did not sell the movie, but thankfully Parenthood is better than your sell job on it. It's a great movie. The scene of Steve Martin when he's just delirious when his son actually catches a fly ball in a Little League game is absolutely heartwarming. Terrific supporting cast. And also some salacious moments as well as when Steve Martin discovers a dildo.
Heads up.
Prop comic.
It wasn't Steve Martin. He is one of the great prop comics. I can't believe you know that, Jessica. Steve Martin is a prop comic. That's old school.
Steve Martin's a prop comic.
Number 2.
Number 2, Field of Dreams. The father-son movie. The father-son movie, that's the reason why you build it. The reason why it's done is because of Kevin Costner, because of the relationship with his father. If you do not cry at the end of Field of Dreams, you do not have the ability to show or have any emotions. When you say, "Dad, do you want to have a catch?" that is a line that transcends athleticism. It transcends baseball. It is the relationship that you hope to have with your son. And I can only tell you I've never turned down a catch with my late father, and I never turned down a catch, but my son's never actually asked me to have a catch.
Small quibble. I'd still say it's, "Hey, Dad, you want to play catch?" I wouldn't say "want to have a catch," but yeah, Waterworks.
Adnan, not adding to the segment, Adnan, at all.
But David, listen, as baseball guys,
More like
fathers and
subtract,
sons,
man.
James Earl Jones, I'm all with you on Field of Dreams. Went to Field of Dreams game a couple years ago in Iowa. Incredible. I'm with you.
Did you play on the field?
I played catch with Kevin Millar, which was not exactly my dream. Kind of rather play catch with my dad or one of my kids.
Wait
but
a minute.
Me and Kevin Millar did play catch, or Kevin Costner did.
Billy just called you in my ear, Adnan, subtractnan, because you're not adding to the segment, according to Samson. Field of Dreams, when you mentioned that, Mike Ryan yawned and Jessica burst out laughing at the suggestion that Field of Dreams is number 2 there. Number 1, David.
Number 1 is a movie called Big Fish. Big Fish is a movie that stars Billy Crudup and Ewan McGregor and Albert Finney. The relationship is Albert Finney to his son, Billy Crudup. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that.
Yeah, it's Billy Crudup. This is now 0 for 3 on name pronunciation.
Thank you.
What the hell is going
Adnan.
on? It's Billy Crudup.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger and Gene. I'm glad you can pronounce every name of movies that you don't appreciate.
Roger and
I
Don.
don't care. I apologize. At least I don't add
Sorry,
the extra.
sorry for my attention to detail, my accuracy. It's okay.
Listen,
Go ahead.
Adnan, all I'm saying is that it is clear to me that Big Fish is number 1, and I hope he's number 1 on your list because we have to get to your list. But that movie, which the scene of that movie that you should watch is the funeral scene, and I'm not spoiling anything, but to show what it is to live a fantastic life that sometimes can be out of this world, but not in a science fiction way. Just a larger-than-life character and the father-son relationship with Marion Cotillard.
Yes.
As the daughter-in-law. Thank
You
you.
nailed Marion Cotillard. Billy Crudup is too difficult. Marion Cotillard, the French actress who was an Academy Award winner you have no issues with. Scott Van Pelt, a huge fan of Big Fish as well. I like that it's directed by Tim Burton. It has its moments, but number 1 is categorically insane. There's not one person that says of all the father-son, father-daughter movies, Big Fish at number 1. If it's number 10, perhaps. But any film featuring Danny DeVito's bare butt, I can't give a numero uno.
There is no movie that actually shows the importance of a father-son relationship more than Big Fish. The movie does not exist. So your list can be your list, but I'm talking about the relationship of a father and a son.
We're going to do Adnan's list too quickly because of the amount of time your lists take. So let's, before getting any commentary from you whatsoever, let's just go 5 through 1, Adnan, because we're out of time because Samson's a mic hog. Number 5, Adnan.
Face Off.
No.
Okay, I knew. Mike Ryan, I knew was going to have my back. First of all, it's a father-son. No, it's a father-son movie. A relationship with his kid and a relationship with his daughter. Teenage daughter. We're both just trying to connect with her. Huh? Mike and I are doing this to each other right now.
Number 4.
Kramer versus Kramer. Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep, all-time movie involving a father. Yeah, Roy Bellamy. Yes,
one of the great divorce movies. One of the great divorce movies of all time.
Adnan's list rocks.
Number 3.
A Bronx Tale. Is it better to be loved or feared? I would say fear, because fear lasts longer than love.
Wow.
Number 2.
Especially in this
Cynical,
segment.
dark. Number 2.
The Royal Tenenbaums. LeBatard's backing me up. Wes Anderson, baby. This
Wes
is a
Anderson
great
is
father-son
great.
movie.
Put it
Gene
on the
Hackman,
poll.
Ben Stiller.
Put it on the poll, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Does fear last longer than love? Number 1. It's unbelievable.
Number 1. Life is Beautiful. Roberto Benigni, baby. Samson, that's one of the great
That is a
fathers-
good
Are you
one.
kidding me?
That is a
a
good
father-son movie also involving the Holocaust? You are
You've got
not beating Life is
divorce,
Beautiful.
murder, and genocide. That's your view of father-son relationship.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time. Not enough time with Adnan's list because Samson, I mean, I can't believe your list, Samson, but Face Off, that's offensive. It's simply
The
offensive.
murderer.